the first few I just did audio, and in this, I thought it would be nice in the kind of like having the open access data. There's, I mean, obviously so much in the
exactly.
that it's a nice thing to like still have in there if people want it.
Yeah.
And then just kind of diving right in of like towards this question of like any moment that was a little bit awkward or like you didn't know what was happening.
Well, I think in general throughout the whole session I was quite like good, like there weren't really any tasks or something that I was a bit lost. I think there was like one moment with you when you, I don't know, I was in a really like kind of calm flowy moment, and then you like kind of like really caught me in a way, like with a lot of energy. And then I felt like I was like, I don't know, it really took me by surprise. And then at that moment I noticed like because my instinct is also because of a lot of improvisation, like I need to go with this, like I need to do something with this, but I was like, but I actually don't really want to. And that was a moment where I was like like stuck between this. Yeah.
Cool. That is great. So there's like basically I've been making this high-tech drawing that's like, here's the time of the whole class, and then here's like the moment, say, wherever it happened in the class, and then the moment right before the moment and right out of the moment. And this is like the section that we're kind of working with. And so it'll be a whole bunch of kind of as like, we'll let the videotape go and then rewind, and like me seeing if I have it right, like all, and kind of like trying to figure out the chronology, the sequence as much as it is possible, and that's about it. So I guess even starting like sequentially in a way that makes sense of like kind of dropping into this like flowy state you were mentioning like right before. I was like, here's my thing. This is, I like just kind of even before diving, and I just love it so much that you choose this moment, because it's for me personally, it's like often, and like I'm sure you kind of like there's something similar, but like being in improvisation and being like, I think we talked about it after class, like how to match when you're like, you kind of know your energy doesn't like fit with the room, and you're like, well, I don't want to, like, the task is not to change into something else, but like to stay with this, but like figure out how to like, and these for me like this really curious territory of like trying to not hurt people or like take over them, but being like, can I be brave? And like, that didn't like.
It's like pushing the line, and
like so it's really, really personally interesting. And then in terms of like the telling of the experience, like this beginning from, and you can kind of jump around. We'll like figure out the sequence as we go, but just as an easy place to start possibly is this like the flowy state you were feeling before this interruption.
So I think for me I was like, I think very like at that moment in tune with what I needed to do. Like I was really like, because often when you improvise, like you start thinking like, oh, I keep doing the same thing, or like I should be more like this, or I should be more like this, but actually most of the time throughout the session I was like, oh no, fine, I'm doing this, I'm enjoying it, like So yeah, it was like super calm, and everything was very like, actually not super physical. Everything was very like yeah, super simple, and all the movements just felt really easy and really nice and soft. Yeah, and so then I think like a lot of energy was suddenly like a really big contradiction.
Oh yeah.
With that. Yeah.
And then like rewinding back there a bit, this like when you were saying like like there wasn't much like movement in this kind of like spatial way. But then like I noticed even like your hand go here, and my own experience is like I was like the internal movement.
Yeah.
I'm wondering kind of like
it's like everything felt like, I always like when I calm down, it's like really soft here and like, I don't know, it's a nice feeling in my chest, you know, it's like yeah, that kind of thing. And then for some reason, whenever I feel like that, I get very like on my axis somehow, like my spine stays very like and then I just move my limbs kind of in a way like, but I stay quite upright. Yeah, I don't know why.
And then diving in a bit to this nice chest feeling. I'm wondering if there's like a way to describe. It's like I'm imagining like if you're describing to somebody who's blind, or you're describing to an alien, or like you're describing to an artist that has to paint this, or like write a book, or like how do you describe how that feels?
I think, well, first of all, it's really weird. I always imagine when I think about this feeling, I always literally imagine like the inside of my chest, like literally like the red fleshy color also, like, and it becomes very soft. Yeah, and it's like everything's like, yeah, the fleshy bits inside are like sinking and melting, kind of. And then there's also like at the same time a bit of a spreading of energy, like it kind of like actually it kind of like melts, but then also on the inside there's like a just a little point of something that goes like just a little feeling that like finds space.
And that like that like little point that kind of expands in this way. I'm wondering now, sort of like location questions, like is it in the middle or front or back or?
No, really middle.
Okay.
But like I imagine it in the middle, but actually if I think about the feeling, I don't feel it in my back. So maybe in reality, if there is something in reality, it might be more in the front. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then wondering also like how, like watching your hands make this expansion. Does it go about that far or?
Yeah, I think so. It stays quite inside. It doesn't really go out to the space. It's more like, whoa, like just for me, kind of. Yeah.
And even like, I mean, the questions are real improvisatorial, so like I'm wondering, like, does it reach your like side skin and front skin, or does it even stay like kind of smaller?
I think even smaller. Like it stays like really inside the rib cage for sure.
Cool. Yeah. Experientially, that might like totally makes sense. And kind of like any kind of like body scan, or kind of like asking yourself, what other sorts of like ways to describe? Like maybe a question would be like, is there a kind of material in the world that relates to this kind of softness?
say like fabricy bits. Because like also this feeling always reminds me of like home, and then I always relate like a sofa or a carpet, like comfy fabric, soft things. Yeah.
Is that like this home feeling, like in this moment in the class, like were you sort of like aware of like even this word home or these soft fabrics, or is it sort of like a way to describe it?
Yeah. I think in that moment probably I didn't relate it to that. Maybe I'm now actually relating the feeling of that moment to a feeling that I experience more often, like a general feeling of this like coming back, and that I usually then would like compare with home and this all these things. Yeah, but actually in the moment I don't think that really came up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. And then I was noticing like the way you're describing your hands too, there's this kind of like motion, sort of like chest to throat area, and then there was like the point that was like a sort of and I'm wondering like there was also like some rhythmic, like you're kind of moving your hands with a tempo.
Okay.
And I don't know if you felt the movement kind of like.
Yeah, I think, because I notice when I think of it, I think it goes a bit with the breath, that it moves also up and down and that allows it to spread also more, I think. Yeah. Something like that.
And then the last kind of one that's popping up for me with this particular slice is like you were mentioning, imagining the fleshy bits inside.
Yeah.
And do you remember, like, this isn't also, like, is that a general or also in this moment? Like, in that moment, were you seeing the fleshy bits?
I think probably in that moment, I'm quite sure that I had that. It's kind of always like, I'm pretty sure I had this image of my chest and then this, like, kind of this thing inside that's more like yellowy, shiny. It's like really cliche, but like this like yellow, like light thing. Yeah.
And this is like kind of more towards the center again.
Yeah. Okay.
And like you're not felt in your back, but like sort of center feeling.
Yeah.
Still. Okay. Yeah, super interesting. And then so like this, like, you know, this me person going to like totally change the scenario. Do you remember were your eyes open or shut at the time of this?
Open.
Okay. And then wondering like where I came from. Like when did you first even sense me? Was it in a touch or was it before?
It was a little bit before. Like I'm pretty sure I saw you also coming. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And then another, like, you know, in this continuous, like, refreshing the actual, like, asking the whole self check. In that, just seeing me, did anything shift?
I think not instantly. I think a thought came up of like, I think I noticed it.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, she's coming, but I was still like in the same state. Yeah.
And then like, just even like the next millisecond after this.
Yeah, I think it wasn't really until the moment of contact that there was like this problem, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I think the whole approaching was like fine. I was just with myself and I was like, oh, okay, she's coming. Like, I don't know, I didn't see a problem in it. Yeah.
But that's even quite rich material to me of like, you know, a real distinct difference of like, if you're preparing for impact, you know, like, so the lack of racing is like tons of information and and then going along is it in this, you know, like slivers of moments way. Or maybe even like starting with the, like, do you remember the speed that I was approaching with, or like the form of my body in my approach?
I think in a way, like I remember it quite like fast and playful, and I think like, I don't know, for some reason I see also like the chest really approaching. Yeah, this like a lot of energy, bit chaotic, like playful, childlike kind of thing.
Yeah. And then I'm just wondering if like, were my hands out or up, or like more just, is it just this memory of like sort of like chest leading?
Yeah, and I think like arms, I don't know, just kind of following.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And then continuing on video at your pace of like this, from this like really soft internal, like seeing this glowing and feeling this quality, and then seeing me approach in this playful, like chest leading energy. And then what happened?
So then there was a contact where you like really like grabbed me, and then like it was weird. Then it was like a mix of all kinds of things, I think, because then it's not like my state disappeared, like I was still there. It was just this whole thing of like, because in a way I was completely fine with it, but then at the same time I felt like I wasn't, and that made me really like constantly going between like, oh great, I can go with this, between like, well, I don't really want to, like, and then nothing happened, and it was just like kind of frozen.
Oh, so cool. I mean, like in the way of like, what I'm so curious about. And this, sorry, I forgot that you mentioned having this thought also. What did you say that was like right before I came into touch?
Yeah, just the thought of like just noticing that like you're approaching, like, oh, she's coming, like this thing,
and then in this like embracing this like that I did, was I from your front or back, or like how did I?
I'm not actually I think kind of side. I think like cool. This way, yeah.
And then this I hear this split you're talking about, it like, oh, I can go with this, or like, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Did that like come up at the moment of touch, or like a moment after, or?
I think a little bit after. I think not actually sure. But like really split second after. I think in the beginning, it's like, okay, and I think it's only when I noticed that actually I don't want to do something with this, or I don't know what to do with it, then came a bit more panic of like, and then you get this a little bit like surprised feeling.
Yeah. And so like, I guess there's a bunch of ways to ask this, but the one that's popping into my mind is like, in this simultaneity of like the possibility to go along with, and also I hear in you and from our conversations like this history of improvisation of like, I know I can.
Yeah.
And then this part that's like, I don't want to. Can you describe how each of these feel?
So the wanting to go with it and then not wanting to go with it. I think the wanting to go with it is like, it feels still very like calm and like kind of like you're scanning your whole system for options in a way. Like you're trying to be open to receive something, so you're like looking like, what can I do? And then I think the not wanting is very like rigid. With the wanting, like your body also stays soft and calm and more investigating, and then the not wanting is suddenly very like closed off in a way.
And it's the wanting and not wanting of this moment, or like in general, to kind of distinguish between like.
I think in this moment, maybe also in general. And the not wanting is also like a bit more panicky, and then you can't think clearly anymore. Then it's weird because actually there's more happening in my mind, I think, when I want to go with it, but it feels like when I don't want to go with it, it's like so much, but it's actually not. It's just one thought that's like, no. Like that kind of like takes everything over, and you don't allow anything else to come up, and it becomes very like, this panic where all clarity is gone and you're a bit like that.
And even like again, kind of like watching your body describe it. Do you feel it more in your head? Like
for sure. I feel like a kind of chaos in my head that then really disconnects me from my body.
And then this like no is happening.
I think so. I just see like like something like bouncing all the way around, you know. Like that's why it feels like there's so many things up there, but actually I think when I think about it, I'm just sending kind of noise into my brain that cancels out all the thoughts, because all I'm thinking is like, I'm not even really thinking anything. It's just like
and like kind of going along with this thing you're saying of like the movement is it even frontally head, or is it all of head?
All over
like your whole cool. And then like the tempo of this thing, is it like your hand movement, like
like super fast, and also like more things at the same time.
And then you said this feeling of kind of being disconnected from the feeling in the rest of your body.
It suddenly becomes a lot less clear where my body is in a way, and how I can move it.
And then also to take both of these things into account, like hearing you say that, and then also in watching your description and this like tension, and as you describe it, your body's doing a particular thing. Do you have in this, if not, it's no worry, just like in this checking way, like do you have a memory of the tensing?
I'm not sure if it like really visibly like physically happened.
Yeah. Cool.
But more on the inside, like yeah, like where my energy before I was like very happy for it to come out, then it was suddenly like no. I didn't want to allow it to. I didn't want to share it anymore. In a way, I think. Yeah. So it was more an internal closing.
Yeah.
Than a physical one, I think. Yeah.
And this, I often don't even know why I'm asking questions, but in this way of like when you're describing the closing.
Yeah.
And then there's like this like kind of fast action happening in your head. Like is the closing upward or inward, or like does it close in on a center? Is there a center, or does it close up into the head or down? Like how does it,
Yeah, I think everything in like to the midline more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And then while that was happening, this kind of like body scanning, did that stop or was it going on at the same time or back and forth?
I think it was kind of still there, but without that much real investment. Like it was still happening, but I'm not sure that I was still really looking for options. It was still kind of going. Yeah, but I'm not sure that I was trying to find something. Yeah.
And then it, wondering, like, can you describe the process of how you scan for options? Like in that moment?
Yeah, it's literally, I think, like, it feels very like up and down and side all the time. Like, literally body parts also. I think I relate it also to this exercise where you like follow points. Like I feel like I do that. Like I'm constantly like looking for imaginary hands that I can follow. Yeah.
And then it's like I don't really like. I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this that isn't so leading, but I don't know that I'll be able to. But it's like when I watch you do this, but like very much informed from my own experience of doing this. It's like, is there a location of the part of you that is scanning the rest of you?
Yeah, I think it very much comes from my head. Yeah, very much from my head that I send something down. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And then is it like again towards this, like while there's the kind of lots of fast movement happening with the no, the sending down, does it come from a different part of your head or a particular part of your head? Do they interact, or are they like there simultaneously?
I think it comes from the same part. Yeah. It's all like literally up here, like literally brain area.
Yeah. And then I guess the last one that I'm thinking of now in relation to this like checking for options part was, did the like I heard you say there was softness still in that part, and I'm wondering if that like stayed. or if it sort of went away as.
I think it did stay. Because I'm quite sure, like afterwards, I could still keep going with it. So I think it stayed. Yeah, just more closed in. Yeah.
In the same sort of like similar center.
Exactly.
And then like sequentially. So as I hear it, like it's this moment where I've come into touch already, kind of from the side, and this has been like lit up or happening for you of this like softness and the checking for options, but maybe not with like tons of investments, and the closing in first, and then
I think once I get into the like closing in, more panicky. I mean, it wasn't really panicky, but like just a little bit more like then I just freeze basically. And I mean, there's still that thing going on inside, like the fast movement in the brain and maybe scanning, but I know it's also this state where you're like just waiting for something to be over. It feels like you're keeping your mind busy until it's over, and my body's not really responding. It's just like
and did that, like, I guess the way I'm kind of like making sense of it to myself is like there's like the igniting of these things, and then there's like the waiting. It sounds like a slightly different. And then in the waiting moment, does it like do the sensations that were occurring right before change, or basically are the same, or?
Yeah, I think there's more stillness in the waiting.
Yeah.
Like still my mind is like blah, blah, blah. But I think like more and more I like shut my body out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder, it's so like, this word stillness is so fascinating to me. And I'm again like thinking of my own experience in relation to this, like in relation to like what I understand of what you're saying, and this great difference of like gentle stillness and this like closing in stillness. And I wonder if you could describe like how this stillness was, or like metaphors or anything.
Well, so I don't actually think that physically it was like super tense. I kind of related to this feeling that I had also when I was like in my teenage years, and I had some problem doing homework and studying and all these things. So I would constantly like watch television to postpone stuff, and that's the feeling. Like I'm just in a sofa, like super passive, like just distracting myself, and my body's like I don't even know if it's there. Like I'm just distracting my mind because I need time to pass. Like that's kind of what I related to now.
Yeah. And then like that already paints such a clear picture for me, and I'm just wondering if there's like any it's like again hearing you and hearing this disconnection, and then I'm like still wondering like, is there any like softness or hardness in the closed in passive waiting that's disconnected?
Well, I think the memory of it feels hard. Like I think internally it feels harder for some reason. It feels more rigid than like closed. But still, I think like muscle-wise, I think it was quite still soft. Like I don't think there was too much of a response that way. Yeah.
That makes tons of sense to me, actually. And then going from there, like the next, from this waiting.
So then I think like once the moment was over and like I could feel you release, it's a hard moment to remember, but I think, I mean, then obviously, like I just kept going, I think, with the thing I was doing before, but for the, like then there was obviously a lot of thoughts, because part of me was like, okay, it's fine, I just keep going, it's okay, but then another part of me was like, oh, I don't know what just happened, like and it's like, oh fuck, like, yeah, it's really weird. Yeah. It's hard to. It's kind of like you pretend that it's fine and like you just keep going, but on the inside you're like, oh fuck, what did I just do? Like, what's that? Yeah.
And that kind of like came right, like the waiting ended by me moving away, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I was out, then this like carry on sort of
exactly
happened. And I guess I guess if you could describe again this like kind of, these now like different simultaneous things of like the part that's like not done processing like rattling attack of the playful chest and also the part that is like, okay, carry like these different pieces you're speaking of, like again, if you can feel how they feel.
I think in that moment, like in a way, like my body could find the first quality that I was going with very easily again, and I could start moving, and like it was fine. But then I felt very much like that my head was still busy with thoughts, that like my body was just moving with the memory, I think, from before. But then in my head there was this conversation of like trying to encourage me to keep going and like, oh, it's fine, it happened, now I just do my thing, I'm in the moment, it's okay. But then on the other hand also like, I don't know if this is actually fine, like I feel like I should have done something with it, or like I don't know even what this was, or like
cool. And then like these like conversation thoughts happening, did they feel differently than like the before? So how did these ones feel? These ones
felt more like talking speed also, like literally like this debating in my head, a bit more like observative and calmer, like not so much like don't know what's happening, more literally like a conversation in a way.
Okay, that's really clear to me. And then this interesting thing you said of the memory of before, that your body was moving with the memory of before, which makes me, like, it brings the question to me of like, oh, okay, so wait, was it, like, these are very much my words, and please, like, modify, like, this kind of, like, not quite robot, but, like, going back into the pattern without actually being in the pattern.
Yeah, I think so. Because definitely with my head I was not there.
And then it's any of the like in the moving, was any of the like sensation in the center area back or not quite yet? Or?
Yeah, I think it was still in a way there,
Yeah.
but not as present. I think like I could still feel the softness and calm, but I think the glowing,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, wasn't so much
Mm-hmm.
present. Yeah.
Yeah. And then right from that, like then what was like the next?
Yeah, I think from that I just, I'm not sure, but I think I took just a moment for myself to like, yeah, focus on my movement again. I think the thoughts probably just faded away, like also with the realization of like, oh well, it happened, like, and then you kind of just keep going. So yeah, I think just I took a moment for myself and like tuning back in to the sensation in my body, and then once I like felt a bit more secure again, we're like, okay, I'm here in a way. I could go back in and open up more to other people also.
Yeah. And so do I have this right? It's like the thoughts faded away, but like the memory of the thoughts fading away isn't really clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't actually know how long maybe they were still there, but I could focus back on my body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how quickly they faded away or whether they were still there, but I wasn't giving them attention anymore, or yeah. Not sure.
Yeah, and then this like kind of as I hear like this transition from thoughts fading into like sensing more of, and I think like something is similar to it coming back to yourself, your body. When you were able to like come back, were the sensations like I hear very much that they're like of a similar from the beginning.
Yeah.
And wondering if like are they kind of exactly the same or are they a bit different now or?
Yeah, I think they might be a bit different. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they might be a bit like drier afterwards. Like, which I didn't mind. It was just, yeah, I think maybe this like really soft chesty feeling was not so like, because I think actually maybe before it was also a bit more emotional in a way, like more felt, and now it was just like, okay, like kind of still soft but drier, like yeah, just like, well, kind of going with it, and it wasn't this like like
okay, yeah,
super nice, yeah, more emotional chesty feeling. It was more like evenly spread maybe in the body, just an overall calm, soft, but a bit drier, yeah, in a way.
I'm wondering, I don't know if there's an answer to this, but if there's any like way, like any additional words to describe. It's really fascinating to me. This dryer is also really a rich word for me. Kind of, and like the sighing, and and I guess I'm wondering, like, are there any more words to describe the difference of qualities of this more emotional and this drier?
Yeah, I think the second one reminds me also a bit more of like this kind of Zen martial arts thing, and like air that's like super neutral but still soft and nice. Yeah, more neutral, like yeah, this kind of like, yeah, it really reminds me of like this Tai Chi kind of thing where you just do everything and you're soft but without emotion. Whereas before it felt closer to me. Yeah, and in a way, I think before it felt like more important to me. I was really doing me. And then after, yeah, maybe because it was more this like drier, martial artsy quality. Yeah, it felt more like maybe it didn't necessarily come from like me anymore, which could make sense if it comes from a memory.
Yeah, that's actually,
that it
makes a lot of sense.
Came a little bit more from, I mean, outside, it's still my memory, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think of, it's interesting, I've never talked to somebody about like this precise nuance, and when you're bringing it up, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, like when you're engaging with practice versus like some like, yeah, more kind of emotional impulse to practice.
Yeah.
It's really, your description's really cool. And then I wonder about this, like you were saying this, then you were able, once you arrived at this kind of like drier, more martial arts moment, you're also able to be more open to others again.
Yeah.
And like, what are the feelings, sensations that make you know like you're more open now?
I think the fact that I was, like, I could feel that I was calm again and like in control. Yeah, I think once I had the feeling that I had the control back, then I was like, okay, now I'm confident again to, go more towards the group. Yeah.
And then that part reminded me of in the beginning, before you saw me, do you remember if you were feeling open to the group at that moment or not?
I think I was, like, I was very much with myself, but I was also, like, I was aware of the other people and I was open for them being there. And like, yeah.
I feel like for me that's like a really clear kind of in and out of, and completely leaving it to you of like if there's something else, if it feels important to add or that you want to add.
No, I think also.
Yeah. And then kind of like a tertiary question of like, I guess, pockets of for the same question, but like how did you find the interview, or was it different than you thought, or like did you find any new information in the telling?
Yeah, I found definitely a lot more information. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. It made me realize also many things about this, like especially this closing, because it's something that I do a lot, and I never really knew what it was, because it's this panicky moment, and you design kind of this moment to forget it. It's like, just get it over it, and then and then you never really look back on it, because the purpose of this moment was to just let time pass and then you continue.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. I never realized, and it's funny also that I like related to when I was watching TV when I was younger, because I know like when I was younger that was like half of my life, I think, just like letting time pass, like yeah, it's fine. And it's still very much there, I think. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I hope I'm also thinking like I hope that I remembered things right, you know, because sometimes you start telling stories and maybe you get lost a bit in your imagination. So maybe you watch the video and it's like completely different. But yeah.
I did like just letting the recorders go, but like this is basically like I watched with one other, so this is the third one interview, and then the last one I did, then the person wanted to review the video, and it was this thing where there was like a difference of memory. Not like super intensely, but like there was. Yeah. And also like I was also talking to her, and like almost everyone that I've interviewed, like, you know, like people interested in like pretty introspective topics. So like, you know, of this group, that like almost everyone has this like, I don't know if I'm remembering. And I think that's for me just part of it, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Who knows?
It's something I find so difficult but very intriguing. Like I come to realize more and more that a lot in my life I imagine, like, and other people also, like, yeah. Even with like personality, I don't think there's many things that you are. I think there's many things that you like want others to think that you are, and like very subconsciously. But yeah, and it's super interesting, really confusing also if you think about it too much, but
I think it's one of the big pieces for me in this project is exactly towards this topic of well, like to say it in two ways. Like one, there's this piece that's really interesting where like it feels very profound and intimate and true.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people describe them, when I describe them, when I feel you describe them, like this is true.
Yeah.
And then this juxtaposition with that's not what the video says, or that's not what happened for other people, I think is really like I'm not sure how to like share it or like present it, but it's this piece towards like really we have different realities all the time. There's not a hard reality.
For sure.
And like that ideological shift culturally feels so important to make, like that we haven't arrived at.
Definitely. I think that probably also plays a big part in the difficulty in communication, because you constantly read things different. And it's this interesting thing though, of like you've probably read about it also, these studies where people did like, I don't know, physical training push-ups every day, and some people imagined them and they had like the same results. And it's really cool how your brain doesn't know what is actually real and what you just imagine. But yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting research there still to do. The imagination.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's right.